Hi, well, good afternoon, everybody. I hope everyone is enjoying. Guess what? If you didn't know, today is Wednesday. We're almost to the weekend, but I am so excited about this conference, and I'm thrilled that you all are here. One thing, though, that they did mention in our housekeeping in the welcome session was that we're going to ask you to turn your cameras on. It is very difficult and kind of intimidating to look at just your names. So it doesn't matter to us where you are, what you're doing, if you're hanging out at the beach or pool, we're not going to tell, but we do want to see you. So please. And I'm thrilled that Bob, that Bob and I are doing this session together. This is going to be fun. So please ask us questions and let's all enjoy this together.
We don't have enough content at this conference for community colleges. So I'm glad that I finally was ahead of the game in saying I need to go track down somebody fun like B and put together some content just for our friends at the community and technical colleges. And a whole bunch of people signed up. So there's a really good representation here. And I'm very happy about it. B, they must all be big fans of yours. That's my conclusion.
Well, I recognize just a couple of names and some. I can see some very sweet faces that I call friends. So thank y'all for chiming in. But yeah.
So I think here's our ground rules, and there aren't many ground rules. We've put together some slides of examples of what B's up to at Spartanburg Community College, just to kind of get some topics going for discussion. I have added some examples of what's going on at some other community colleges, so I can sort of give a report from everywhere else. Everybody joining us is sort of the third leg of that stool with what you're up to and what you want to add to the discussion. So a couple of things. I have found the chat function to be really useful, almost to have a parallel conversation, or for people to say, yeah, we do that too, or we do that better than B's doing it, whatever. So fill that up if you've got a web address for somewhere you're proud of, or just anything you want to share, and let us know if you want to chime in and add to our discussion. B and I are not shy, but that doesn't mean we don't welcome anybody else that wants to chime in to the chat. And so this isn't a rigid presentation. We've got some slides that are more conversation starters, but don't let us hog the microphone, and put some information in the chat if you'd like. We'll give everybody the transcript after this if you want anything that's shared there. Otherwise, B, I think we're good to go, right?
Great. Thanks, Bob. Just to kind of give you just a snapshot, I've been in higher education now over 20 years. I started out at a small private college here in town, Spartanburg Methodist College, which is the most outstanding institution. There's a couple of ladies that are attending from SMC. And I tell you, it's a diamond in the rough. I love SMC, always will. I made the transition from there. I started as a recruiter and moved into the alumni role, and then took a lateral move over to USC Upstate. The University of South Carolina Upstate as their alumni director, and then moved through development. And I was there for 15 years, and then made the transition here to Spartanburg Community College as their executive director of the foundation. So here I've been in 3 different scenarios, all within the same community. Spartanburg, South Carolina, we are very proud to be a college town. I think we have 8 colleges here. So to go ahead and just get started, I think the first slide that we're going to talk about is, oh, thank you, Molly. The first slide we're going to talk about is how we transitioned this past year from when I came to the community college. These past 4 years, we've hosted an event called Economic Visionaries, where we had a keynote speaker. We were honoring 4 businesses that were making significant impact in our community. And it was a big hoorah. Well, of course, with COVID, we were not able to do that. So we were able to transition and shift. Instead of hosting an event, we went and asked our sponsors to continue to provide and support us, but we provided gap scholarships, where we were able to, instead of having the big dinner, and the event itself typically generates about $175,000 a year. It's a pretty good deal. But this year, we were able to secure right at $90,000 from our sponsors, and we were able to help 180 students. So these are just a couple of the slides that some of our posts from Instagram of these very happy students because they didn't know they were going to get it. And what we did is here we were raising the money, keeping our sponsors in staying in line with them. But we took groups of students. We started with health sciences, then we went to welding, we went to HVAC, and we went on down the line. As dollars were coming in, we were able to assist these students with these additional dollars. So when that $500 hit their account, they were pretty proud. They were pretty excited. So this was just a way of how we took an event and we shifted it to the virtual. So this was just an example of the GAP scholarship campaign that I wanted to share with you.
And B, so Spartanburg Community College Foundation, this is a Facebook page for the foundation, is that right?
These are posts. These are posts that we have out on our different social media channels, yes.
And so the college must have its own social media channels, right? And so did somebody tell you go do fundraising social media over there? Will they share the things that you post?
Sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. And when I got here, it was kind of strange, just for the fact that the college is recruiting students and they've got a different audience. So that's how our foundation was able to have its own social media platforms. So we're on 3 platforms currently: LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. And it was all due to this event, this Economic Visionaries, where this event itself, I always refer to it, as hosting my own royal wedding. And the minute it was over in March, we started the very next day with planning. Because of the many tentacles of the event, getting companies to self-nominate, making sure we had a great keynote speaker, then getting the sponsors involved. And then, I'm a small shop. It's myself, and I can't even call her an admin. She's my rock star, and her name is Charm, and she's absolutely fantastic. Charm and I are a dynamic duo, as well as our director of grants and our grants coordinator. I mean, Charm and I really spearheaded that effort. So anyway, just how we were able to take an event where we were hosting 600 of our closest friends at a seated dinner and pivoting and doing this online and being able to, we saved everybody a night out and a dinner where we were able to directly impact students.
And B, we should probably just sort of put this comment out there. We're not going to be talking a whole lot in this session about alumni fundraising, and this seems to be a good example. These are all company sponsors that fund a scholarship, and if you were to slice your pie, is it businesses that are one of the bigger wedges?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, and so again, anybody who wants to chime in the chat or elsewhere, we do have some things to talk about with alumni that I want to talk about, but with the understanding that this isn't like other types of institutions. Okay, so that's all about the GAP Scholarship campaign. And anything to say more about these posts?
And these, typically the event itself, we had about 66, 67 sponsors. And with this initiative, we had 27. So where we didn't have as many, the impact was still great. And so I just and this is just an example of one of the many campaigns that we've coordinated and spearheaded here in the SEC Foundation. So go on to the next slide.
Well, let me just ask a little bit about this. So are these all major employers? Are they located close to campus? Are they both?
Yes, these are major employers. These are major movers and shakers here in our community.
And I like how you've tagged all of them in your posts. So they must enjoy bragging about how they are supporting you and your students through these scholarships, huh?
Very much so. And also the community college, we service a 3-county area. So several of these companies are not, they're broader than just Spartanburg.
Well, it seems like that's running pretty well to me. Did you have to pivot this in any way because of the pandemic? Would this have been an event previously?
Yes, this would have been the seated dinner.
Right. Okay.
This was the seated dinner that where we were able to pivot and just have direct impact for the students. Whereas before, the event itself, after all, everything was paid, we had about $100,000 we were putting towards faculty professional development, emergency funds for students, and book fund requests for students. So without the event, we were able to directly assist those 180 students.
Okay. The fact that you were doing all this posting on social media made me put this slide in here. This is the Community College of Baltimore County, and there's their CCBC alumni page. And sort of what I already asked you about, but just to expand that a little bit, how do you define success? Like with a Facebook page in particular, you notice that this school has 1,300 likes. I'm not sure likes is the right metric. How do you evaluate what's the right amount of the stuff you do on social media?
That's a moving target.
Yeah.
Where we started, just trying to build our audience, where we're comparable to this institution, we're about the same in the following. So it just depends. And I'll tell you what has gotten the most engagement were those students. We're showing the students that we're awarded those GAP scholarships is where we really were able to build our followers. And so, every month we're looking at it. We've got our calendar, our posting calendar, where we're posting things about doing an alumni spotlight, a board member spotlight, promoting different events. But I tell you, putting the student's face out there really helped us expand our presence on our social media channels.
So I used to be just sort of categorically critical of a foundation or the development office creating its own Facebook page, because that usually meant that the campus was saying, go over there and talk about fundraising. Don't bother the people on our page. Over the years, though, I've become more appreciative that because you have the foundation Facebook page, you can launch posts like this. The bigger campus can share them on their pages if they want. Do you do anything with advertising this kind of content? Will you distribute this so that all of your alumni see it, for example? Or is it just, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've got several things that are currently trying to pull together. We just recently we're transitioning from one software to another. Our new software system, Salsa, allows for us to communicate better with our alums and more consistently and in a sharper look. So where on the paid side of Facebook, we're trying to target our graduates as well as we are on LinkedIn. Instagram, we hadn't done that great, but on those two platforms, we're trying to target so that they can see this information.
Yeah, so I think as we've gotten smarter, with how to use Facebook and how to do sponsored messages like yours, now it makes a lot more sense to me that the foundation can have its own clubhouse on Facebook, right, or whatever social media we're talking about, and use it to kind of launch this kind of content that the main campus sites can still share and repost and all that. But I like that you have sort of a base of operation now to do the things that you want to do on social media, and the same with this site as well. I put this in here just to remind me to ask you about how you coexist with the other channels at the college.
Well, I mean, we finally have gotten into a groove, and one of my colleagues is in the session, and I'm waiting for her to nod her head. But we're finally in the groove with marketing, you know, where I'm always saying, come on, share our stuff. I really need to build our community. It's not the same. It's not the same messaging, but we're getting there. So
Yeah.
we're becoming, you know, more in line with broadening our audiences.
I like the idea of awareness days. Tell us about that.
Awareness, oh, just to bring in, you know, like National Skilled Trades Day or National Arbor Day. Those are just days that are already out there, that gives us more creative ways of content to post and to showcase our campus. Because really our rule of thumb is, I'm here to promote the foundation and the initiatives that we have. I'm not here to promote the college. But having these days like National Skills, it's a way for us to show what programs that we currently, you know, have here on campus. And then like with the National Arbor Day, we have one of the best, we have one of the strongest schools of horticulture in the state of South Carolina, and we're extremely proud of that. As a matter of fact, this year is our 50th anniversary. So anytime we can show off our campuses, we'll do it.
I get it. And that's why I put this sample in here too. I'm curious if anybody in this session has done anything similar to this. This is Portland Community College out in Oregon, and they actually did a 1-hour show that you could watch online. You could also watch it on the local cable channel. And this was just a couple months ago, and you can see across the top, apparently there were llamas and origami and dancing and a raffle involved, but very similar to what you were talking about, just through a different channel, right? You're using social media to promote and highlight the different programs at your college. And here's one place that actually said, let's put on a TV show and sort of remind the community of all the value that we bring and the people that we teach and the programs that we offer. B, are you aware of anybody else who's done a TV show to raise awareness?
You know, no. I mean, I know of other nonprofits. No, I mean, I know of another nonprofit that has done an incredible job pivoting in the virtual world, and that's ETV Endowment. They're doing an incredible job with hosting events. I mean, they've gone gangbusters. But no, this is an outstanding example. And one that I'll probably be stealing. Thanks, Bob, for putting it in the presentation.
you bet. Well, and some of you know, because you participate. Every year I invite people to share samples of things like this. And so I get hundreds of institutions that join in, but they don't always do a good job of telling me the rest of the story, you know, about are they ever going to do this TV show again or not? So I put this up to encourage you to go contact our friends at Portland Community College and say you'd like to know the rest of the story if this is something that you imagine doing. You know, I know I'm generalizing, B, but a place like you guys in Spartanburg, you're a little bit of a big fish in a not so big pond, and so some places probably have the ability to sort of orchestrate something like this. And you know, it's the same sort of awareness raising that you're talking about. It's just another channel to do it in. And if anybody is joining us and has done something like this, I'd love to know the rest of your story about if I should not be encouraging other people to consider doing this. But I love the idea, like you said, it checks a lot of boxes about raising awareness among the community, and a clever way to do it, seems to me.
Very much so. That's great.
All right, I'm not seeing any hands going up with similar TV shows. We're all going to go check out Portland Community College and report back. Hey, tell us about the bricks.
This is another, this is an alumni appeal that we offer year round. I mean, all the time, but this is something that we try to keep out in front of people. And it's mostly popular at graduation. We host one graduation a year. Of course, we're graduating students 3 times a year, but we really push this in our May graduation service. And so this is a great way to honor students that have come through our programs. But this, and it's also a great fundraiser. I mean, because the bricks are inexpensive and having the etching is inexpensive. So, we're charging $125 for a brick, and it's a great way to help another revenue stream.
Bea, do you have any idea? Is it most often the student who buys a brick? Is it their family that buys a brick? It is the family, huh? And any way to code in the database, to the extent you're able to track alumni, who was a brick buyer? It seems to me that, if they were just happy to get their degree and get out of there, I'm not sure you want to memorialize yourself with a brick, but I'd like to think that this is a positive reflection on the college, that people are proud of that connection.
They're very proud of it. And it's a great way. I mean, as we're importing new, graduates into our database, and an individual, purchases a brick, if it's, whomever, mom, dad, grandma, buys that brick for them, then we're able to immediately tag them. And so we can keep that information current. But it's also, in our horticulture department, they buy a brick for every one of their graduates as a congratulations of getting through the program.
That seems like not a bad engagement idea to me either. Okay, so you want to see the example I found along these lines? This is Northeast Community College in Nebraska. So they have, the programs for agriculture and related things. So they sent it, this in the background here is an email that went out at the holiday season last year saying, deck the halls with cows and holly. So this is actually a donor wall across the bottom here. That's a Farmscape. And they're inviting you to make a gift, small, medium, or large. You have your choice of a cow, a chicken, a pig that you can engrave with your name on it, or whoever you want to pay tribute to. So this is the first time I've seen a Farmscape version of a donor wall. And the website is very cute. If you want to be a family or a group contributing, they're willing to put your flock of chickens all in one place together on this wall, or if you want to be all cows or like Noah's Ark, whatever you want to do. Again, I don't know the rest of this story, but what I've learned, in working with you, Bea, and putting this session together, is how interesting that most community colleges really have facets of their programs that are quite distinctive, whether it's agriculture or winemaking, or there's one we'll see in a little bit that's sort of water related skills. I mean, that's really gives you, I think, the opportunity to play with your brand and your awareness with things like a Farmscape donor wall that I wouldn't see this at a more typical university, right? And so why not have some fun with it? I think it's clever. Nothing against your bricks, which are perfectly fine.
Well, I mean, this opens up a lot of opportunities. I mean, it makes me think about our Center for Sustainable Agriculture.
Yeah, I love this. And all things being equal, I mean, frankly, and nothing personal, but brick or a cow, I think I'm signing up for a cow. So that's our friends at the Northeast Community College in Nebraska. Again, tell them I sent you, and tell them I need to know the rest of the story, because they didn't provide it. But I really want to believe that people love this, and this Farmscape is now completely covered with livestock that all represent somebody's gift to the college. So there you go. Call Tracy up. There's her email address, and say we demand to know the rest of this story. But a clever idea.
Very.
All right, back to company fundraising. Tell us about the company appeal.
The company appeal is something that that we're very proud of. Working with our grants department, we were able to secure a significant gift through Timken that was able to support our continuing ed program. So we are constantly looking for different ways to partner with our companies, outside of just scholarships. Of course, scholarships are important, but also like with Timken, they were able to provide, equipment that impacted four different programs. So we are, whenever things like to this magnitude happen, we are always out there trying to tell them thank you. and this is our way. And of course we tag them, and of course we're very thankful for the relationship we have with Timken.
And B, I'm getting increasingly impressed with your presence on social media. Do you have other channels that are part of what you do? Will you do much mailing to people, even if it's company appeal mailings? What do the rest of your channels look like?
Well, it's like I was sharing with you before the session started, and I'll give a little attaboy to Pledge Mine. When we attended the conference 2 years ago in Charleston, Charm and I were very impressed with Pledge Mine. They're a great group. With us being a small shop, they provide us a box, a very hefty box of templates for appeals. If it be just, a standard solicitation, if it's a thank you, if it's a birthday card, whatever, it's a full variety of ideas and suggestions that we can work with quickly, and they can turn it around quickly. So we're ever thankful for Pledge Mine. So we're doing, and maybe Charm will chime in, we just did a mailing with Pledge Mine to about 6,000. So we're doing about 2 or 3 mailings a year, because we found during the pandemic, where the virtual is great, people wanted to touch, they wanted a piece of mail. And we still have, believe it or not, we still have people mailing checks. I mean, our donor base is very diverse. So we've got checks, and of course electronically, but people like that mail. And so our partnership with Pledge Mine is healthy, and we're very thankful for them.
So you've got your box of templates, and you call them up and you say, yes, we'd like to send out number 63.
Correct. And we'd like to, and I tell them, and for the ones on this call that know me, I tell Pledge Mine, I'm not getting on your dashboard. I'm not, don't introduce another technical platform to me. This is the one, this is the, A1 that we want to use. These are our photos, and here's the content. Look forward to seeing that proof. So if Pledge Mine's on this call or in this session, we appreciate that you work with us and you're flexible.
If they're in this session, you are their valued customer, right?
Exactly.
And I mean, we're chuckling, but that it's really a meaningful service to you, isn't it? That you don't need to sort of be thinking through all that in-house with limited staff and resources. And so you'd not only acknowledge them, you'd recommend them, wouldn't you?
Yes, very much so.
Yes. Neither B nor I are compensated for our reference to Pledge Mine, but that kind of service, I think, is particularly meaningful these days in pretty small shops.
Very much so. I mean, because they can also, not only can they do the print, but then they can also do the email.
Yeah, okay. Let's see. We want to talk a little bit about events. So tell us what we're looking at here.
Well, looking at, we use social media again to promote our events. As I mentioned a couple of minutes ago, our School of Horticulture they're 50 years old this year, and which is incredible. And what the school has done, School of Hort has done for our community here, especially here in Spartanburg, we are one of 6 arboretums. We are one of 6 arboretums. And so we're very proud of that. So we're always here to promote our events. As you saw on the very first screen, where we were doing the GAP scholarships, that replaced where we were promoting economic visionaries. And then of course, I'd love to hear from y'all about Giving Tuesday. How are your Giving Tuesday campaigns going? I was really proud. Our foundation board got behind us this past year, and we exceeded our goal and raised, $6,000. Does anybody want to share about their Giving Tuesday?
I'll give people a chance to put something in the chat, or feel free to just turn on your microphone and chime in. I'll give you the Bob position on Giving Tuesday, that I think everybody should be present on Giving Tuesday, because the Giving Tuesday people, I think, have succeeded well beyond their imagination of what they thought they could make out of Giving Tuesday. I think the only downside is that every cause shows up on Giving Tuesday. And I think a place like a community college has a built-in sort of group with affinity, and so we're turning the volume up on a day that everybody else is turning the volume up. So that's, to me, that's not a reason to not be present, but also understand in some ways they've been a victim of their own success with how everybody now knows what we're even talking about with Giving Tuesday. So to echo B's point, if you've got a advice or a success story or a lesson learned the hard way, feel free to speak up. But it sounds like you guys had a happy story this year.
We really did. I mean, because it's a struggle, and I will say that our marketing committee on the foundation, they did a great job really pushing and really getting behind this initiative. So that helped tremendously. We can see that this post here. Is there an executive summary to what other collateral, I guess is the word, you would have had on your Giving Tuesday with your committee? No.
No LinkedIn post, no mailings, huh? You didn't call Pledge Mine and say number 87 for Giving Tuesday?
No, we didn't. We did a different year-end appeal, but we were able to do Giving Tuesday through just our social media platforms.
Got it. So I put an event in here. I think this might be Carteret would be how I'd say it, but you could tell me I'm saying it wrong. They have one of these special programs that I was talking about. Brenda, are you visiting from there?
I am. It's Carteret.
Hi.
Carteret Community.
Carteret, thank you very much. My apologies. And I welcome your comment on this. So we warned you that we might be doing some research on the people that had signed up for this. And this is another place. I'll start, and Brenda, you can finish what I get wrong, that has some distinctive programs, water-based programs, aquaculture programs. And so not only do you guys have your own oyster shucking event, at least did before the pandemic. I hope you get back to it soon if you're not already. Then there's also, I think, a fishing tournament that you all have. It seems like you have a pretty distinctive set of opportunities to do events that not everybody can think about. But for me, the important point is, again, the admiration I was giving to community colleges, that you have these niches in a way that other more traditional institutions don't. And I think you can play up to them in a way that not everybody could. I've got my fingers crossed. Please tell me Shuck, Rattle, and Roll is a great event.
It is. It's only in its 5th year. It's pretty new. And unfortunately, we haven't had it since 2019. And every year it got a little bit better. And the last year, 2019, we were sold out at 500 people. So our goal is to grow it to 1,000. But we had the opportunity. We're the only community college in North Carolina, because of our location, we're on the water, that we have an aquaculture program. And so we're teaching students to farm shellfish and raise sea bass, for example, to be prepared to have a business in aquariums, saltwater-based aquariums. It just goes on. And so we're able to, because of also our partners, have an event like this.
And I love the name Shuck, Rattle, and Roll. So I put this picture in there, but you guys have quite a few events. I mean, we've been listening to B talk about being sort of corporate sponsorship has a big prominence. Just looking at some of the things I found on your website, you seem very event-centric too. Is that fair?
We are event heavy for a staff of 3.
We need to talk.
We don't have industry in our area where we're at, so we really have to find, we have to be unique and get our community involved. And with the community we live at and retirees, we have a great group of foodies in our county. So events that involve food just go over really well.
Yeah, it sure seems like it. What's not to like? If you're going to be event heavy, have fun events and have tasty events too, it seems to me.
Yes.
That's great. Anything else we ought to brag about at your place? Is there a better event I should be telling everybody about?
I'm sure we have our fishing tournament, our Spanish mackerel. You can't, for winning $1,000 with a, maybe 3 or 4 pound fish, you just can't beat, but it's also family oriented.
It sounds great, and I hope those are all back happening for real sooner rather than later, because you guys have a good thing going there, and I will be happily come and investigate Shuck, Rattle, and Roll in person the next time it happens.
I have to tell you, we actually got the name by Facebook. We put out some ideas, so our community actually voted on Shuck, Rattle, and Roll.
That sounds like a winner to me. Thank you for sharing all that. I apart from getting my pronunciation right, I appreciate you letting me drag you into talking about your program, but it all really sounds great. Okay, B, that brings us to fill the backpacks.
This is something that I spoke about a minute ago, or in the opening session. This is a campaign I'm very proud of. Where our college, Spartanburg Community College, has announced free tuition for this next academic year. So where we are using CARES Act money for our students, and let me explain. The student still has to complete the FAFSA form, and any aid that they are eligible for, and here in this, if it be Life, Hope, South Carolina Wins, whatever, that is applied to the student's account, then the balance that is left is what the college covers. Now, the student is still responsible for books, tools, and fees. And so when the college announced this free tuition initiative, the foundation came right alongside them and created the Fill the Backpacks. And I will tell you that, of course, working with PledgeMine, and this has been a very successful campaign. And what we've been able to do is this campaign in particular is able to assist first-time students and returning students. Returning meaning they've been out of college 3 or more semesters. So there's an application process that's in place that's housed on our financial aid website. They go there, they fill out the application. The process is simple. As soon as they fill out that application, 4 offices get an email. We vet the student, if they're in good standing. And if they are approved, the foundation will absorb 85% of the cost, and the student is responsible for 15%. So they've got a little skin in the game. So yes, where tuition is free, we still have opportunities and resources that are available to them. So because we want them to be successful, and that's a part of our mission and our goal is we want our students to be successful and go straight into the workforce.
And so I was proud of my tagline at the opening for institutions that are perceived to not be in need of support, help a good community college be a great community college. This is sort of a variation on that, isn't it? That the most government funding isn't going to provide for everything. So we still have needs, and so fill the backpack.
Absolutely. I mean, and our students, everybody's students. It doesn't matter if they're at a community college or if a 4-year private, 4-year liberal art, whatever, there's always need. And so for us is annual fund or, development officers or whatever our titles are, our responsibilities, there's always a need for us to go and find and to have it fulfilled. By all means.
Have you had any pushback? I honestly don't know the answer to this. Because this is sort of a political decision to help fund this, that people now get angry in some way that because they don't like the government use of funds this way, or is this sort of something that everybody can like?
That's kind of a double-edged question. I would say that it has caused some excitement. And of course, our enrollment numbers, they look great for fall. But on the flip side of it is now it's the issue of the sustainability. Can we continue to keep this can we continue to offer, free tuition moving forward, and because we are using our CARES dollars wisely, because of course we're supporting the workforce of tomorrow. I mean, and I think that we're doing an excellent job. I think our leadership made a wise decision, because all the institutions are getting these dollars. We're just using them to this advantage, to the student's advantage.
Yeah. What's not to like? Yeah. And
Right.
this is a nonpartisan session too.
Exactly.
Here's some more fill the backpack stuff.
And again, students don't, they want to get into our culinary program. They're going to have the uniform. It's things like this that they don't put into their finances, or when they're thinking about making that commitment to college, going into the nursing program, our automotive program. They've got to be able to have their own tools. So again, this is a way that we're showing donors, and we're showing, we're showing all of our constituents, yes, we're offering the free tuition, but yet there's other outside supplies or fees that need to be covered, and this is where we need your assistance.
So some years ago, I saw the Culinary Institute of America do exactly this appeal about help fund a chef's outfit for one of our students. It was sort of like just before crowdfunding, but along the same lines about specific things you could make possible with your gift. So that seems really smart to identify things like this. Well, since I said it, let me just ask, do you do any kind of crowdfunding? Is that above your bandwidth of things you're able to do?
We hadn't gotten there yet. But I think Charm might chime in and tell us that that'll be something that we'll be looking towards.
Well, for this reason, I mean, you guys can talk in pretty tangible terms, just like my oyster shucking friends. You've got things to highlight, tangible things, because of the programs you offer and the courses you teach, that you could really have a lot of fun with.
We really can. But let me throw one thing in. No matter if it's Fill the Backpack or our emergency funds or the Fill the Backpack or the book fund, they have to purchase everything from the college's bookstore. So okay. it all runs through the college bookstore. So, if a student is approved, then, the foundation will absorb the 85% and the student is 15%. So we keep that all in-house.
So the bookstore thinks this is a great idea.
Yes. They do. and it's a great way to promote what they have. I mean, y'all know it, if you're going to go buy a book, you don't think about your college bookstore. You think about going to Amazon or somewhere else. So this way it keeps our dollars in house.
Got it. And one more slide here.
Yeah. And again, and this is an opportunity for us on social media to heighten people's awareness of the different programs that we offer. I mean, the community college, we offer 70 different programs. So a lot of times where you might get just thinking that we just do health sciences or, I don't know, HVAC, you now see that we're into welding and automotive and, just a variety of things. So these are just other examples in kind of heightening people's awareness of how their dollars would be utilized.
And you said you pulled together a mailing for Fill the Backpacks. Who would the audience have been for that?
Our alums and our friends.
And friends would tend to be people in the area? Yes,
people in the area.
How do I become a friend of Spartanburg Community College? How do I get in the database coded as a friend?
You will tonight.
No, I mean, is it people, thank you very much. Is it people who come to events, or is it,
it's a variety of ways. Now we've, a variety of ways, from information that we've gleaned from, students that have graduated, their information gets imported into our system. Individuals that come to an event, with our big event that we've hosted in the past, those individuals, they become a part of our database. The guests where we're seated at the table. So that's how we've been building our constituents.
Got it. Okay, here's another one that I brought to the table. This is, I don't even know how to say this, Umpqua Community College in Oregon. This is a faculty and staff fund that they promote called the Wishing Well Fund. So faculty and staff can apply to the foundation for grants for equipment or materials or something to add to their education experience. This also winds up being a popular thing. You see in the italics up at the top there that a lot of internal audiences like to give to. So faculty and staff themselves often like to make gifts to the Wishing Well Fund. So I see, it caught my eye that faculty and staff were also being talked about as a beneficiary of the fundraising we do. B, do you do anything in particular for this kind of a granting fund, and do you do fundraising with your faculty and staff?
Yes, we do. We have a campaign called One SCC. We are 5 campuses, 3 counties, and we are one SCC. So that campaign, we kick that off in August, about mid-August, and we run it from August 16th into October 1st. So where we are encouraging faculty, staff, and retirees to support the foundation, and they can designate their gift to their fund of their choice. Typically, those majority of those dollars go unrestricted, which of course we appreciate. But yes, and that's crucial for us. Our One SCC campaign last year was very successful. We had our theme was Battle of the Buildings. So if any building got to 100%, the foundation provided them a lunch. This year we're changing it up a little bit, but our goal is still to generate that participation. We want to get to 80%. You know, and those dollars are accounted for, and people are very supportive of it.
So, you know, we love our faculty and staff, right? But I have found them to be one of the trickiest audiences for a lot of institutions. You know, there's always excuses. You know, we didn't get the raise that we were supposed to get, or, you know, we don't like the administration, you know, whatever. There's never a particularly good time to start one, it seems to me. Do you have any advice about how you make it work? It sounds like you're doing pretty well at it. Is competition one of the good things I'm hearing?
Well, we've got a couple of things in place here at SCC. We have a professional development fund. Actually, it's a named fund. We had an anonymous donor, you know, give us a gift of $100,000 with challenging the foundation to match those funds. And we matched them within a 3-year period because of Economic Visionaries, because of the success of that event. And those dollars are designated for our faculty and staff to advance their careers, not only their careers, but advance their skills within the classroom. So they can apply for those funds to go to conferences, you know, take additional classes, do a variety of things. So we make that available to our faculty and staff. And so that's a really big perk for us, and for our, you know, them knowing that we have resources to help them is appreciated.
Tell us about Amazon.
Well, how many, I mean, if y'all could put your hands up, or how many of y'all are utilizing Amazon, especially now, you know, with COVID and where, you know, the position that we're in. I mean, it doesn't generate a lot of money for us, but boy, we sure do get excited when those checks come in. So, you know, that's just something that we promote often, is letting people know that they can choose the SEC Foundation as their charity of choice.
And B, for anybody who doesn't know, just explain how this works. You have to sign up and be a choice as a charity or a beneficiary. Yes,
through Amazon Smile,
yep.
You can sign your organization up, and so then you're encouraging your constituents to shop through Amazon. And well, you've got to go through the Amazon Smile, but you can have your charity of choice. And so it's a great way to help out, you know, it's a great way to help out a nonprofit.
Can you quantify what this return is? There's no cost to the college, right?
Correct. There's no cost to the foundation. And I'd say it's a couple $100 a year.
Okay. For just getting set up with it.
Yeah. Just getting set up and, and for the dollars coming back.
Yeah. And if my household is any measure, this seems like it's only going to keep growing.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Without naming anybody specifically.
Because everybody loves Amazon.
Oh, man.
Well, as a matter of fact, with our One SEC campaign, we'll be offering in some of our prizes $250 Amazon gift cards. So to the winner, to the individuals that are making gifts, they can turn right around and give right back to the foundation through their shopping.
This is like the deal you have set up with your bookstore too.
There you go.
So we have about 15 minutes to go, and I just want to remind people, if you have a question for B or me or each other, put something in the chat. If you've seen anything we've touched on that we ought to be adding that you're doing it and doing it well, throw that in there too. You're also welcome just to turn your microphone on and jump in with anything you want to share. But in the meantime, so here's one community college. This is my friends at Umpqua. I should really learn how to say it if I'm going to keep showing their samples. They have an entire YouTube channel just with alumni talking about, how much they've appreciated their degree and how it helped them to get their career started. B, I put this in just as a placeholder for a more general question about video, which seems to also have taken a little bit of a jump forward in the pandemic, whether it's students sending thank you videos, or I now see fundraisers sending video messages asking if we could visit on Zoom or in person or whatever. So just in a general way, you seem to have a pretty good presence on social media in general. Can you talk a little bit about your ability, if at all, to use video in some of your fundraising?
We've used video embedded in emails.
Yeah.
On a broader scale, but this is a really great idea. Thank you, God, Bob. Thanks for incorporating.
Well, I'm trying to pull my weight here, but I've sort of watched this tipping point move forward over the years. Speaking as an annual giving guy, it used to be just a victory when you could get the marketing communications people to focus on annual giving at all to produce any video, right? And then we got a little more equipped internally, and now things like Thank You have showed up and have really streamlined the ability to generate videos. A lot of my, residential institution friends, now the phone-a-thon room has become the thank you video recording room in addition. So, I'm seeing it sort of integrate itself into the channels we use and the way we fundraise. I could imagine community colleges, with one-person shops and tight resources, not fully exercising those muscles, but it sure seems like it's becoming more available and accessible in the same way that Pledge Mine kind of became a direct mail resource for you. I see things like Thank You, and there's others out there that are helping to connect the dots with doing video on sort of a bigger scale. But so far, this is on your wish list, huh?
Yes, it is. It is. That's very interesting. I mean, as we're looking to revamp and revitalize our alumni program. This is very creative. We currently do an alumni spotlight every month that we put on our website and on our social media channels, and we have a YouTube channel. So this would be a great addition.
And I can just sort of tell by looking at all these videos, these aren't too slickly produced, right? I think, again, when we were first starting to do or wanting to do more video, the marketing communications people would say, well, we got to do it the right way, and it's got to have the right branding, and we'll submit it for a case award and all that stuff. And it just seems like now the organic video seems to be quickly getting much more acceptance, where I don't need to have a big production schedule just to do a thank you video from a scholarship recipient, or you know, from a board member, or whomever, a student. So it's just interesting as I've been watching this, and how it's piqued my curiosity who's dipping their toe in the pool at community colleges. So here's one place that rounded up a bunch of alumni that had a good story to tell, and said, would you just film a few minutes talking about how this was a good thing for you? So I'm going to keep an eye on this, B.
All right. Good plan.
I also wanted to put LinkedIn on the table, because when B and I were putting this session together, she beat me up pretty good and said, we can't talk a whole lot about alumni because it's just too difficult. You know, most of our graduates aren't getting super rich quick. So I get that. But I also am intrigued by the possibility of identifying more successful alumni, successful in terms of how much money they make, or their wealth anyway. There's different measures of success, right? And LinkedIn becomes intriguing to me. B, you've already mentioned LinkedIn a couple of times. So I want you to know, I went in and looked up for Spartanburg Community College, and you can see in LinkedIn where the biggest numbers of your graduates work, where they all live geographically. You know, if I click on any one of these bars, they'll also tell me exactly who works for all these companies. Now, everybody can keep score with me on this grid. I can see B is connected to that person, B is connected to this person down here, so she's doing pretty good. Out of 9 people here, she's connected to 2 of them, but she still has more homework to do reaching out to these folks. And B, this list that we're looking at is everybody who's got the word director in their job title. So that's interesting to me, if I can, you know, see who seems to have a good career going for themselves. And given the challenges at a community college, that you can't make too many assumptions, you know, about everybody in the database and, you know, having a good job title. But the value of something like LinkedIn is that I can see pretty quickly, you know, who some of those taller trees might be. So it's my question to you, because I don't know the answer. Are you ever able, do you have the time or the ability to sift through LinkedIn in this way? I know you said it was a channel to sort of post things. And anybody else who's listening in who has done a deeper dive with LinkedIn, to me, it seems like a real lifeline to a community college in particular, to be able to see, you know, people who own their own company or have a nice job title or are in the neighborhood that we could go visit or wherever. So what's my answer for you in Spartanburg?
I will tell you that we just now started with LinkedIn just earlier this year, and it's a slow grow. But the student affairs office reached out to me and they wanted to do a women's panel of graduates. And I was able to identify successful ladies here in our area using LinkedIn. But now the one challenge that I found, where it's, you know, you've got 7,500 here that live in the United States, 6,000 here in the Greenville area.
Right.
You know, I don't know how to blast out to that 6,000 through LinkedIn to introduce myself and the foundation to get them to follow us. That's something I haven't figured out yet.
And I think LinkedIn works best as sort of a one-to-one engagement, you know, which is why sifting out job titles like this is what I see other places doing. There's a guy at UC Berkeley who, if you're wanting to talk to him, he's in the College of Chemistry. So before you shut down and say, well, that's great if you're Berkeley, I mean, he doesn't have a whole lot to look at either, because he's just fundraising for the College of Chemistry. But he bought the use for a year of LinkedIn Sales Navigator, which I think it's about $1,000, and you could convince me that there's no budget for that in this realm. But it's been really valuable for him, in part because it gives him the ability to reach out and send a message to anybody on LinkedIn. He can also do some of this drilling down and put in exact job titles, see what people's interests are. and also it's anonymous, so people don't know that he's snooping around looking him up on LinkedIn, which has become a thing, right? So again, I'd be interested if anybody listening in is doing a deeper dive with LinkedIn, and maybe it's still not a good ROI for a community college. And I'm also not here to get a commission promoting LinkedIn. But knowing one of the frustrations of community colleges is that you can't assume we've got a lot of people with the wealth to consider a big gift. It at least lets you drill in on who some of those people might be. And for my friend at Berkeley, he gave himself several hundred new, really viable prospects because of their career and their interest that he otherwise didn't know about. So I may be ahead of myself with the community college crowd, but it sounds like you're at least you're aware that this could be a thing, huh?
Very much so. Very much so. Because again, in the community college world, we talk about training an individual to go straight into the workforce. So right. We see that LinkedIn, is a great platform.
Well, when my career started, we were all producing alumni directories, and we would update the database as best we could with what somebody's job was and what their job title was. And I'm here to wave the white flag and say LinkedIn really kind of put a lot of that work out of business, because all this self-reported information of what people are doing, and if they weren't proud of what they were doing, I don't think they'd be bragging about it on LinkedIn in general. So it seems to be a pretty good self-selecting audience that might be a lot smaller at a place like a community college, but I think that's the efficiency of knowing pretty quickly who it is that we ought to be thinking about. And to your credit, I'm teasing, but you've already checked some of the boxes on this screen. You're just good at networking, I suspect. And so for other people, LinkedIn sort of helps shortcut some of that identification process, I think, right?
Correct. Yeah.
All right. Let's see. I think I'm down to the last couple. I think Edgecombe Community College might be listening in. I think somebody from there signed up. You all caught my attention with this student ambassador program that you have that I thought I saw was a function of the alumni office. It could be a student organization itself. This strikes a note for me, B, because the whole reason I do what I do now in annual giving is because when I was a student at Miami University in Ohio, I joined this group at Miami, which they called the Student Foundation. And we wore red blazers, just like these guys with their cardigans. But we gave the campus tours. We volunteered for a phonathon. I never dreamed that students would someday get paid to call in a phonathon. But this really whet my appetite for advancement, and just seems like you could get a lot of use out of a group like this for events and fundraising things and prospective students. Is there any version of this at Spartanburg?
In the admissions office, yes.
Yeah, I think it's great, and I found this on their giving page, so I'm assuming there's some connection. Anybody from Edgecombe out there who wants to tell me the rest of the story? I keep bringing up these ideas, B, and I don't have any data, but doesn't mean it's not a good idea, right? Okay, so that touched a note, and kudos to Edgecombe for having that program, and the rest of you as well. I am such as I am. I'm evidence that you plant seeds and you see who's excited about being at your place, and don't let them get away. And then I had this picture too. They have profiles of who's a student ambassador. So this is public information on their website, but really nice touch, sort of, humanizes who that team is and what their likes and dislikes and what they're studying. And Christy here has a sweet spot for animals and babies. She's the one, right? Okay, so I love that program. And then Joliet Junior College, not too far down the road from me in Joliet, Illinois. For the stewardship folks listening in, I saw this as a sample that they shared and wanted to give them a shout out. A lot of us sort of send out gift receipts that check all the boxes for IRS purposes, right? But they're not necessarily the warmest acknowledgments of a gift and aren't checking the donors boxes for how they want to feel appreciated and how they want to be stewarded. So Joliet Junior College reworked this gift receipt that they send out. Notice the thing at the bottom says, turn this page over to see how you are making a difference at JJC. So you turned over, and here's all this shopping list of how gifts are put to good use at the college, and that friendly picture of all those students who are sure grateful for your generosity. Pretty smart, seems to me, to fulfill all the IRS requirements, but also to not ignore the stewardship part of the equation too. So the fact that they shared the sample with me, I thought was deserving of a shout out itself. Okay, and B, I think that was all the bells and whistles that we brought with us. So last call, we've got about 5 minutes to go. B, anything else you want to bring up? And anybody else listening in, feel free to turn on your microphone or put something in the chat and raise your hand, and we'll bring you into the conversation. B, anything we've missed?
Whew, I think we've covered a lot.
Well, don't excuse everybody. So we don't leave any itch unscratched,
No, I'd like to ask a question of the group. As I've shared, we're looking to, revitalize our alumni program. Of the participants, tell me about your alumni program. How are you measuring success? What are you doing? Leah,
Anyone?
I know you're outstanding at alumni activities.
Thank you so much, B. I appreciate that. One thing that really has, I guess, driven focus to where focus needed to be for our department is that we have started logging everything that we do with our alums. When they attend events, when we send out mail, when they open emails that we send through our newsletters, of course, when they make a donation, if we leave something on their porch. We started doing a lot of porch drop-offs during COVID when it was not safe to have the face-to-face interactions, but we still wanted our donors and alums to know, hey, we're still thinking about you, we care about you, we love you. We would put together little care packets or whatever and leave on their porch, and then send an email or a phone call saying, hey, check your porch. There's a little surprise there for you. So we would track all of that. So now we can go back and see how much that interaction is, I guess, paying dividends for our fundraising and total engagement. So that's just one thing, is just to log everything that you do so you can then go back and see it's working, it's not working, they responded to this, they didn't really care about that, and then, pivot and come up with a new plan or either stick with what you're doing.
B, let me just say, Leah, thanks for sharing that. And I already sang the praises of why I think LinkedIn is worth paying attention to. What LinkedIn doesn't tell you is who cares, right? And so the piece you're doing is just as valuable in showing who will raise their hand and get involved in different things. And, part of your challenge must be that you don't know who's a potential endowed scholarship donor and for everybody who shows up. But I think that those two sides of the conversation, I think, are really important. And I think I could argue any alumni event we do these days, we owe it to ourselves to remember who showed up, because they're telling you an awfully big message, because we tend to assume that it's more transactional, I think, than some other places. They want to get that skill and that degree. B has lowered my expectations for alumni.
No, she's amazing. She is absolutely amazing. I've learned so much from B over the last 2 decades.
Well, I'm not disappointed in B. I'm disappointed in the alumni that don't that aren't otherwise engaged. I love B. Are you kidding? B can't get rid of me.
But I mean, to engage your alums, are you doing segmented, like, particular field of study to get them there, or is it just across the board alums, or are you dividing them up by years?
We do a little of all of that. It just really depends on if it's an event, where it's located, if it's something that we're hosting on campus, if it has a fundraising component right out the door, if we want to steward the donors or the constituents before they get to the donor. level. But we have done a lot. We used to do almost everything was printed. And of course, with the rising costs and postage and printing, we had to back off of that. So we do a lot of segmented pieces. To make up for not doing the printed pieces, we do an e-newsletter once a month. And we just find, you know, spotlight either alums or students. We always have a call to action to focus on fundraising, whether that be our Angel Fund, which is a non-emergency, non-academic, but essential need for students, something that could interrupt their education, but something that we could step in and help. We'll do that. Yeah, we do. We segment almost everything that we do now.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. B, anyone else you want to drag into the chat before we go?
No, but this has been great. I've really enjoyed it. And Bob, thank you so much for inviting me to participate. And, you know, I look forward to all the other sessions during this outstanding conference.
And there'll be a recording of this once we get around to putting everything in a folder where you can all find it next week. But otherwise, this has been a good education for me, B. Thank you very much. And we've got an informal Zoom reception left after this. If you want to come say hi to folks, I'll be there. But if you got to go find your kids or find your dog or find your spouse or whatever, I won't blame you for that either. B, thank you very much. Well done. Thanks, Lee and Brenda and anybody else who chimed in. I appreciate the sharing. And we'll quit while we're ahead, okay? Enjoy the rest of the conference. B, thanks again. Well done.